We're talking ball screws, folks.
Ball screws, yeah. Not exactly the most glamorous topic, right?
At first glance, I thought so too. But then you sent over that article about their role in medical devices, and I realized, whoa, there's so much more to these things than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely. They're like the unsung heroes of so many medical technologies.
Exactly. And that's why we have you here today. You've spent years working with medical devices, so you can really give us the inside scoop.
Happy to be here. I'm always excited to shed some light on these often overlooked but crucial components.
Well, let's jump right in then. I think for many of us, myself included, we need a little refresher.
Okay, so in simple terms, it's a mechanical device. It converts rotational motion, so think spinning, into linear motion.
Linear motion, so moving in a straight line.
Precisely.
Ah.
And it does this using a threaded shaft with a bunch of tiny ball bearings that travel along the grooves of those threads.
Huh. I'm picturing it like a spiral staircase for those tiny ball bearings, and as they go up or down, the screw itself moves forward or backward.
Yeah, that's a really great analogy.
Okay, so we've got the what down, but now the big question is why? Why are these ball screws so important in medical devices?
Well, medical devices require absolute precision, right? Even the smallest error can have huge consequences.
Oh, I can imagine. Like, you wouldn't want a surgical tool being off by a millimeter during a delicate procedure.
Exactly. Or think about imaging scanners. They need to position you precisely to get clear images. And that's where ball screws come in.
Come to think of it, I did read about a new type of X-ray machine using miniature ball screws. It allows for much less invasive procedures.
Absolutely. It's all about controlling movement with incredible accuracy.
And it's not just accuracy, right? These devices need to be super reliable, too.
Oh, absolutely. They have to work flawlessly day in and day out, sometimes under intense pressure.
Yeah.
You can't have a component failing in the middle of, say, heart surgery.
No kidding. So we're talking precision, reliability. These things must be built like tanks.
Pretty much. Durability is key. They have to withstand constant use, sterilization procedures. Think about the harsh environments they operate in.
So they're precise, reliable, tough. That's quite the combination.
Right. And they're everywhere. You find them in dialysis machines, cardiac pumps, all sorts of imaging equipment.
Wait, hold on. Cardiac pumps, so these tiny screws are helping regulate blood flow during, like, open heart surgery.
Exactly. They ensure precise and consistent blood flow, which is, well, kind of essential for the patient's survival.
Wow, I had no idea. I was thinking more along the lines of lab equipment or, maybe those X-ray machines we talked about. But heart surgery, that's a whole other level.
Yeah, the applications are really far-reaching, and the stakes are incredibly high. Think about radiotherapy, where they're targeting tumors with radiation beams.
That's true. Any slight error there could be.
Catastrophic, yes, absolutely. The ball screws in those machines have to position those beams with pinpoint accuracy, hitting the cancerous cells while minimizing damage to healthy tissue.
Okay, officially mind blown. It's incredible to think that such a small component can have such a huge impact on something as critical as, well, cancer treatment.
Right, and it's not just radiotherapy. They're also vital in drug delivery systems, ensuring patients get the right dosage at the right time.
This is amazing. I never would have guessed ball screws played such a critical role in all these life-saving technologies.
It's truly fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, of course, designing these ball screws for medical use comes with its own set of challenges.
I bet. I mean, the medical field is incredibly demanding. I imagine the tolerances and precision required are...
Extremely tight, yeah. We're talking about forces being applied in very specific directions, sometimes at incredibly small scales. And then you have to consider factors like vibration, shock, the materials used.
So it's not just about making a ball screw that works, it's about tailoring it to the precise needs of that specific medical device.
Absolutely. And one of the key things engineers have to focus on is something called lead accuracy.
Lead accuracy, huh? I'm guessing that's a pretty important concept.
It is. In simple terms, it refers to how much the screw moves forward or backward with each full rotation. The smaller that movement, the finer the control, the higher the precision.
Makes sense. Kind of like the difference between taking baby steps and giant leaps. In medical applications, you often need that level of fine control.
You got it. Think about a pump delivering medication. Being off by even a tiny amount could have serious consequences.
Right, you need that level of precision. So we've seen how crucial these ball screws are, but designing them for these demanding applications, it must be incredibly tough. What are some of the other things that engineers have to take into account? You mentioned load conditions earlier, I think. What does that even mean when we're talking about ball screws?
Well, load conditions, they refer to all the forces a ball screw has to handle.
Yeah.
And, in medical devices, those forces can be pretty extreme.
Extreme how?
Well, take a ball screw that's, say, part of a surgical robot arm. It might have to deal with all sorts of forces at the same time, like pushing, pulling, twisting,
Yeah.
all while still moving super precisely.
So it's not just the weight or the pressure, but also like which way that force is going.
Exactly. We call them axial loads, radial loads, and torsional loads.
Mhm.
Engineers, they got to calculate all those forces to make sure the ball screw won't buckle or bend or wear out too quickly.
Makes sense. And I guess they have to consider stuff like vibration and shock too, right? Those can't be good for those tiny parts.
Oh, absolutely. Vibration, shock, all those things can add even more stress. It's a lot for these tiny components to handle. But here's the thing. They're designed for it. You see, not all ball screws are created equal.
Really?
Yeah. Different designs, different materials, even different coatings. It all depends on what the specific application needs.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all situation?
Nope, not at all. Some devices need ball screws that can handle heavy loads. Others might need ones that are super fast or incredibly precise. For medical applications, you often use stainless steel.
Oh, right, because stainless steel won't rust, I guess. You wouldn't want that happening inside your body.
Exactly. And it can handle it sterilized over and over again. So material choice, it's a big deal.
Okay, so we've talked about how they work, why they're important, but have there been any big advancements in ball screw technology lately that have really changed things up in the medical field?
Oh, tons.
Yeah.
Like new materials and coatings. Some coatings can reduce friction and wear, which is super important for devices that run constantly.
Like say a pacemaker or something. You wouldn't want those wearing out anytime soon.
Exactly. And there's a lot of research going on with using ceramics and other advanced materials to make ball screws that are even stronger and lighter and more resistant to wear and tear. Imagine a hip replacement with a ceramic ball screw.
Wow, that would be incredible. Sounds like the possibilities are really endless.
They really are. And then you have all the advances in manufacturing. Things like precision grinding and polishing. They allow manufacturers to create ball screws with insanely tight tolerances.
So it's like this perfect storm of new materials, innovative designs, and cutting-edge manufacturing that's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly. It's a constant drive to make them smaller, more precise, more durable. And it's all about meeting the ever-changing demands of the medical world. And not just that, it's also about making these advancements accessible to everyone, which brings us to, well, the challenges.
Right, because with all this amazing technology, there's got to be some hurdles to overcome, I'd imagine. What are some of the challenges facing this field?
Well, one of the biggest ones is that constant push for crazy precision and miniaturization. As medical devices get more sophisticated and less invasive, the components got to keep up.
It's like a never-ending race to push the limits of what's possible. And I imagine cost is always a factor in healthcare, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's this constant balancing act between pushing the boundaries of technology and keeping costs down. And then there's the issue of biocompatibility.
Biocompatibility.
Yeah, if the ball screw comes into contact with bodily fluids or tissues, the materials you use, they have to be carefully chosen.
Makes sense. You don't want your body rejecting something that's supposed to be helping you.
Exactly. So there are a lot of brilliant minds out there working on this. Research into new materials, new coatings.
Like a multi-pronged approach to tackling the problem,
Yeah,
basically.
you got it. And it's not just research labs either. A lot of manufacturers are working hard to improve their designs and manufacturing processes to keep pace with all the demands of the medical industry.
It's really cool to see how much effort and creativity is going into something that, at first glance, seems so simple.
It is, and it really shows the dedication of the people in this field. The engineers, the designers, the manufacturers, they're all working to make healthcare safer, more effective.
You know, it's inspiring to hear you talk about it with such passion. It's easy to get caught up in all the technical details and forget that ultimately this is all about helping people.
You're absolutely right. At the end of the day, it's about using technology to make a real difference. And for me, knowing that my work contributes to that, well, there's no greater feeling.
You know, thinking about it, it's kind of wild just how many medical devices rely on ball screws. We've talked about robots and scanners, but they're also in drug delivery systems, dental equipment, even prosthetics.
Yeah, they really are everywhere,
Yeah.
silently working to make our lives better. And it really makes you appreciate how such a, well, simple design can have such a huge impact on healthcare.
That's what keeps coming back to me, the simplicity. It's just a threaded shaft and some ball bearings. But from that, you get this incredible precision and control.
It's a perfect example of how elegant engineering can solve some really complex problems. Plus, being relatively simple makes them more reliable, easier to maintain, which is, well, crucial in the medical field.
So we've talked about the past, the present, but where do you see this technology going in the future? 5, 10, 20 years from now? What's next for ball screws in medicine?
That's a great question. Honestly, the possibilities seem endless. I think miniaturization will keep pushing forward, especially as nanotechnology and all that becomes more common in medical devices. Imagine ball screws so small they could work inside individual cells.
Whoa, now that's getting futuristic. But I can see how that would be revolutionary for targeted drug delivery, even cellular repair.
Exactly. And who knows what new materials we'll discover, maybe even bioabsorbable ones that can safely break down inside the body once they've done their job. Imagine a surgical implant that just disappears over time.
That's incredible. Sounds like the future of ball screws is pretty bright. And I bet it'll need a whole new wave of engineers and scientists who are, passionate about using their skills to make healthcare better.
Absolutely. It's so important to encourage young people to explore these fields,
Mhm.
to show them how science and tech can actually make a real difference in the world.
Well said. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. I gotta admit, I started out kind of skeptical, but you've totally changed my perspective on these tiny but mighty components.
Glad to hear it. I always enjoy talking about this stuff. Who knows, maybe someone listening will be inspired to become the next big innovator in medical devices.
That would be awesome. And for everyone listening who wants to dive even deeper into this topic, we've included a link to the full article in the show notes. It goes into even more detail about the design, the applications, all that good stuff.
And if you have any thoughts or questions, be sure to share them with us on social media. We'd love to hear what you think.
Absolutely. Keep the conversation going, folks. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a simple, well-designed piece of tech to change the world.